Hey, this is Dave Kelly, and this is the Man Shit Podcast, where we interview all sorts of people providing real life tips for men to be better men. Today I'm interviewing Suzanne Davis. Suzanne's an Aussie mum who creates income through real estate. After graduating from various investment workshops, she embarked on organising these events, and this led her to mentoring others with her growing bank of knowledge. Suzanne now's got several cash flow properties and practices her true passion of coaching people to get clear by identifying their own dreams and goals. This allows people to be their true, authentic self. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the podcast. It's my great pleasure today to talk to my great friend from the Gold Coast in Australia, Suzanne Davis. Now, I'm going to give a quick bio of Suzanne. Suzanne Davis is a regular Aussie mum. She says she's regular. I'm going to tell you, as we go through this, you'll realise she's not regular at all. She's progressed on from being regular. And she made a pivotal decision to create a better life for herself and her family way back. And way back when she read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it ignited in her a passion for financial independence. She believed it was possible, and it gave her a new direction. So then she embarked on this pivotal journey of creating new income flows through real estate. As a result of graduating through many different investment courses and workshops, etc., and also being coached by excellent mentors, she started the process of event organising for those types of events around Australia and around the world, in fact. And it led her to mentoring other people, students of these different courses and investment programs, etc., where she was mentoring and teaching and coaching graduates of those programs. And she did that because of her ongoing bank of relevant knowledge. Giving back has always been a driving force for Suzanne. I know that she's been a great supporter of mine for over a number of years now. Now, Suzanne has now got several cash flow properties that allow her to minimise the time spent working. And her daily practices really consist of her true passion of coaching people to get clear in identifying their dreams and goals. And this allows them to be their authentic self, but also to produce as best as they possibly can. So welcome to the podcast, Suze.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Great to be here.
It's great. Now, what I wanted to start with was Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why. It's a very famous book. It's where, there's many different references you can go to, YouTube and the physical book itself. But it's similar to what you teach in the sense that getting your why is the logical starting point for any endeavour, isn't it?
That's correct. And when I saw that book come out, I saw his podcast and the TED Talk, and I went, oh my goodness, that's what I've been going on about all this time. It was so fantastic to understand, and somebody that could actually explain it in such a detailed way and what have you. So I listened to that and immediately bought his book and went, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. It's what I've been banging on about, if you like, for this since all of my coaching career, and what have you. So it's so important to understand what it is, why you're doing what you do to live the life that you choose.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm all about.
So off camera, before we got started, I'm going to depart from our list of questions, but you were telling me about the thing that's really been occurring for you when you've got a full week of coaching clients, haven't you, and the way you structure it throughout the month.
That's right.
How many people do you working with at the moment?
Sorry, yeah. So between about 40, nearly 50 coaching clients that I have. So I like to work usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the mornings, and then I might have one or two on Thursday if I really, I leave some room for that. And Thursday afternoon I leave free, and Friday I don't work Fridays.
Right, so you've got a good little formula working. Before we started, we were chatting about that, and you were saying, and this is to me where the rubber hits the road and the way that you're being so effective, is that you were talking about the breakthroughs that people, some of your clients are getting, and you kind of said that what I'm really good at, you didn't say this, but this is my interpretation of what you said. You said, what I'm skilled at is helping them navigate through these obstacles so they can actually break through. I mean, that's a skill set which is so incredibly important because, let's face it, we all, at some point, maybe right now or tomorrow or yesterday, we're having all sorts of challenges which are potentially preventing us from moving forwards. So getting someone skilled to assist us and navigate through that is so critical. So tell me, give us an example of what happens when you skillfully help someone navigate through those challenges.
Yeah, well, it's about getting to know the person intimately and getting to know what makes them tick and what it was beforehand that got them to that point, and listening
Mm,
and really listening and really asking and just letting them tell me their story. It's so
mm,
important to understand what it was,
mm,
and the when we put through, the breakthrough will come when people allow themselves to be vulnerable and
mm,
to get clear on what they actually really want. They realise what's holding them back from moving forward,
mm,
and we work. I'll just work through. I suppose my background has been in years ago was working with people with disabilities, and often they couldn't talk.
mm,
And then so I learned about their non-verbal communication and things like that
mm,
just through that. And then my mum had a stroke about 16, 17 years ago now, and
mm,
she couldn't talk from there.
mm,
So for 3.5 years until she passed away,
mhm.
and like just picking up those cues have really I just can tell what's going on with people,
Right.
and be able to navigate through with them in that
Yeah.
process. So,
So,
and go on
so
that journey and not lose them in the moments.
right.
So,
So really paying attention, being present is what I hear you
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Being
that's
really
exactly
present for that other
right.
person, allowing them to
Yeah,
spill the beans, spill their guts,
yeah,
as we say in Australia,
yeah,
Australian folks say.
that's
Um,
right.
spill the beans, but really being listening and understanding. You said that part
Yeah.
of the process weekly is for your
Mm.
people, your coaching clients, is that they're filling out some sort of feedback form. I think you called it, weekly
Yeah.
feedback form.
Accountability. Well, it's an accountability feedback form. I do a couple of things. So
Okay.
actually they do we'll have a monthly hour-long call, and
Yep.
then every second week it's a check-in call, just
Okay.
10, 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
Oftentimes they go over. It depends what the person needs. So I'm just
Yep.
present for them what they need.
Okay.
And I can just tell what's going on in their
Yep.
lives by how little or how much. Little sometimes it's just one or two words that people will write.
Wow.
And I think the most that somebody wrote was about 10 or 12 pages
Wow.
and what have you. But you can just tell what's going on in somebody's life by just observing what they've written or what they have, the lack of the silence there,
Right.
and the
Right.
challenges that are holding them back from moving forward.
Yep.
And we spend quite a bit of time in that space because they know what they do as a business or a job usually,
Yes. Yep.
and so it's not really that they need help with.
Mm.
It's usually and that we do work on that.
Mm.
It's just more all of the other bits and pieces, where the distractions are, where
Mm-hmm.
the blockages are, where they're just struggling to understand where to go, which direction that they need
Right.
to go in.
So
So
are you saying that the breakthrough comes through it's a mindset? If there's a
yeah,
breakthrough at the mindset level, then the other stuff happens. The doing of the business, whatever that is, whether it's property, real
yeah,
estate, medical facility, veterinarian,
yeah,
whatever it is. You've got
yes.
lots of different clients in different areas, but it's the mental breakthrough that is really leads to a breakthrough in the business.
Yeah, that's exactly. It all follows through, and it affects every area of life.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
and just being on that journey with them, and they won't like. I've had a few of those myself, and I could never have told you 1 minute before it was going to happen that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, that I was going to be in that space.
Mm.
But it's about having permission to actually understand what would happen in that, because I've been like I'll give the examples of when that happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
and those breakthroughs come, and you think that the world's going to end, and that,
Mm-hmm.
that you never can move forward from that space, and what have you,
Mm.
and then a few hours later you just go, oh, actually, I've come, and then you can start building from that space.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's but giving people some tools around that,
Mm.
and what it would look like, and allowing them the space. And I often just encourage them, get a piece of paper and a pen, go
Mm.
to a park or go somewhere in nature,
Mm-hmm.
and a bottle of water, and
Mm-hmm.
just go and see and write down all your bits and pieces, and
Mm-hmm.
often things will come up in that
Mm-hmm.
time, in
Mm.
those times.
You talked about burnout. How common is
So,
burnout today?
oh, it's incredible. It blows my mind. I just watch. I'm in a privileged position. I get to work with these amazing people every day,
Yeah.
and then going into the world and
Mm.
being out and about, talking to different people
Mm-hmm.
and what have you, and especially in COVID at the moment as well.
Mm.
Um, it's it's so people are so distracted. They're not present.
Mm.
And all of these distractions and multitasking and
Mm-hmm.
being so busy and all that sort of stuff just makes people on edge. They don't know what they're doing. They don't even know that they're doing it. Don't even realize that they're getting tighter and tighter and tighter.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when the tragedy strikes, and they don't have any tools, and they don't know how to navigate through that space.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's sad. That's the sad, and I've noticed the difference between the people that we work with
Yeah.
compared to the rest of the people.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
really noticeable.
Yeah. Well, COVID's obviously thrown up, and it's been an extended period, hasn't it?
Oh, especially the poor people in Melbourne I really noticed that those guys,
Yeah.
because on the Gold Coast here, we're actually pretty lucky at the moment. We,
Yeah.
can move about pretty freely.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the clients that I have in Melbourne, which is quite a few, and I'm
Yeah.
from Melbourne originally myself,
Mm-hmm.
and my friends down there, they're in a different space, and
Yeah.
they're so in that space, and it's difficult
Yeah.
for those guys. But yeah.
Yeah, well, two of my beautiful daughters live in Melbourne, and it's pretty evident that the shutdown there. Look, let me tell you, I've travelled during COVID times to
Yeah.
Australia, from Australia back to America. I drove across America. I then went to New York, spent time there in New York, Boston, whatever.
Yeah.
I came to Spain. I went to Bulgaria. Now I'm here in Istanbul, in Turkey. And I'd have to say that as I've kept my eyes open, Victoria's got some of the most draconian impositions and structure they've put to protect people from COVID-19 of anywhere in the world. I heard it referred to the other day in Australian media that the most draconian.
Yeah.
That
It's
puts
like
pressure on people.
Yeah, they're tired. And even my best friend Michelle, who is the bubbliest, most beautiful person you could ever meet. We had a Zoom session on Friday night, and she was just flat. And I'd never ever seen her like that before. And it was, I was like, "Come up here."
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the message of getting clear about what you want and having a trajectory, having a goal to shoot for, is probably more relevant now than ever, because we've got all these new external adjustments we're having to make in these times of COVID, where a lot of our freedoms have been taken away. We're having to adjust and do the same thing with less, and there's challenges. So your message is incredibly relevant now, just as it's always been, Suze.
Well, I found when it first happened, back in March, April, around that time, that my coaching sessions went up 25 to 30%.
Wow.
The need of people calling in and what have you.
Right.
But it was more an adjustment of how I'm in business now. How do I adjust to a new way of doing things?
Mm-hmm.
And I just got on with it. I really noticed so it was great to be around those guys.
Yeah.
And so they've stayed because they're so present. And then you're at the shops or wherever you were, and everyone was so down and didn't want to, And I really noticed the difference between the people who've got a game and are clear.
Yes.
Right. Where they're going, and their mindset's in the right space, regardless of their business, regardless of their income, regardless of how much money they're making, what have you. If they were focused and present and clear and less distractions and all of that sort of stuff, and just stayed in their section, then what in their life and moving forward, that was where the gold was. I really noticed it.
I had a question in here, which was tell us about the various types of business clients that you coach. But would it be fair to say, I mean, you coach a whole spectrum, but just touching on that point we've just been talking about, it's almost like we've got our brain, we've got how we see the world, we've got what we're hoping to achieve with our life, and then we've got a business, whatever business that is. And yet, no matter how gifted we are naturally, brilliant, how experienced we are, in many cases, we can really put ourselves in a box, can't we? And limit ourselves depending on what's going on up here. The business can be great, it can be terrible, whatever it is, but really, again, it's the focus on getting mentally sharp, strong, and then we can proceed on and do whatever it is that we're doing in the world.
Yeah, that's right. I've seen people that have made lots of money in business, but they're not very happy people. And then
Right.
I've seen other people that don't have, are just starting out and they're
Mm.
eager beavers, and they're the ones that are absorbing all the information and want to work
Mm.
on themselves
Mm-hmm.
and what have you. So, and if you take the person who's got the money already and have a chat with them and work through
Mm.
all of these things that we've been talking about, focus, being present, less distractions and all that sort of stuff, it's just my beautiful times is when I see the person starting to turn and
Mm.
to go walk in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gold of the coaching, and that's what fills me up. So
Mm-hmm.
watching the changes come through, and like you said, I wrote out a whole list of all of my coaching clients and what their
Mm.
businesses were here.
Yeah.
I've got a lawyer, I've got lawyers, I've got veterinarians, optometrists, 5 engineers, 2 surveyors, property developers, property investors, electricians, plumbers, physios, music teacher, an RTO, owner of an RTO for TAFE, music director of a huge, big, like massive lighting thing in Sydney that's very famous, designers, people in jobs. There's people in jobs that want to start. They're in a full-time job or a part-time job that either want to stay in that job and do a part-time business or property investing or something like that,
Yeah.
or they want to transition out
Transition.
of that job into
Mm-hmm.
a business and
Mm-hmm.
or property investing or that kind of thing to replace their income.
Yeah.
So it's a whole range of people and
Yeah.
moving around.
Yeah.
So I love the variety.
Yeah. I bet you do. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So the place of personal vision, that's a
Mm.
process, isn't it? Like I know that myself. It's an ongoing work almost for me, that I have a concept of where I'm heading and some planning, but it does evolve, doesn't it? This whole idea of what your personal vision is. I found that for myself, as I've had breakthroughs and I've become freer in different parts of my life and the way I think about myself, etc.
Yep.
Then I've kind of seen, oh, gee, I feel like I can go and head in that direction. I didn't have the confidence to maybe do that before, but really
Yep.
that vision can evolve, can't it? It's
Oh,
something. There's always a place to be working
yeah.
on that.
Yeah. And I was just mentioning before, David, to you before the session today, this all started off with just, I feel like I understand that process now of how that
Right.
comes about.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't have any formal training in coaching
Mm,
or what have you. I just got life experience and been to
mm,
many courses over my time.
yeah.
And, I've decoded it down to 5 separate
Mm,
areas of
mm,
I'll just have it here. So the timeline of your life, getting clear on what's happened in your
mm.
life
So
before.
this is your. So listen, everyone. This is your process, right? Or
Yeah,
so sequentially. Okay. So this is the meat and
everyone's in.
potatoes.
Yeah, this is where everyone's in some form of this somewhere along
Right.
their life. So, so the first thing I do is look at the timeline of their life. So
Right.
from conception to today,
Yep.
baggage and blockages that are stopping you from moving forward.
Mm,
Then we work on getting clear, and
mm,
there's a whole process that I take people through getting clear that I've
mm,
just developed over time. And I know
mm.
it actually works in the real world. And if it doesn't work, we find the right thing for the electrician or the plumber or whoever,
Right.
and I've just got this toolbox of things I've developed over this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just meet the person wherever they're at.
Mm,
And then we come up with so we get clear, then we
mm,
come up with a plan, and then we come up with a schedule, to-do list, day-to-day, what people are going to be doing,
mm,
months, years ahead. We look
mhm,
macro at the bigger picture and
mm,
micro at the small, right
mm,
here, right now,
mm,
and the accountability that comes with all of that.
mm,
And spending time with like-minded people and surrounding yourself with the right people
mm,
and all of those things. So there's
mm.
so much within each step there, but that's basically something. We're always in some kind of area within that process.
Yes. Wow. And I know that you've been working on some material, haven't you? A book
Yeah,
and
that's right.
workbook. How's that
Yeah,
going?
yeah, really great. So my book's with the editor. So
Mm.
that was a
Wow.
huge, big,
Awesome.
step forward for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a public persona kind of person, so even
Mm.
David had to kind of wrestle me to be here today. But I'm working on that. That's my thing. I need to put myself out there. That's why I agreed to come along.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that slowly over the last few years, last year or
Mm.
so, just putting myself out and more. For some people it comes naturally, but for me it
Mm.
has been me.
Mm.
So basically, I've worked on the book, and the book is a timeline of my life and
Mm.
things that have happened and some difficult situations that have happened as in my younger years, and
Yeah.
also in the last few years
Mm.
and what have you, and things that I've learnt, and
Mm.
I've caught nuggets that I can impart and help other people through,
Mm.
because I can come alongside people and really understand oftentimes where they're going, and it's like, oh, got it. Okay, yeah, I actually, can identify with a lot of
Mm.
what's going on for you,
Mm.
and help them there. And then the workbook that I've been working on is
Mm.
more of the step by step how to. That's where that
Gotcha.
goes through. There's many, like there's pages here of all of that's come out. So yeah, so I'm looking for doing that for next year and beyond. So
And
into
beyond. So do you?
yeah.
We talked about the idea of running workshops and where you'll reach, and
Yeah.
the books and documents are one thing, but really what I hear you saying is that as you listen and you've developed that skill of really listening, I've never heard you. I don't think I've ever heard you talk in terms of intuition, but to me you seem a very intuitive person.
Well, I didn't think that I was, but apparently I am.
Mm.
So, and that was from my knowing myself. I have a little segment called Knowing Yourself Intimately.
Right.
And actually, it's not an ego thing. It's just knowing yourself. I'm not very good at a lot of things, but I find I'm a really great mum, I
Mm.
think. I've got really great two
You have.
beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
amazing children.
You
And
have.
I think I've got really great coaching. I suck at so many things. I'm terrible at so many things. It's embarrassing. But these
But
two things,
how much time do you spend on those things?
which one's the coaching or the other
No,
stuff? Not much.
you're great
So
at delegating that stuff out.
I am outsourcing all of the time. Like even today, my gardener handyman was here taking all of I live on acreage here, and we've got things always going, gardening and all sorts of things. And he was here today lugging everything away. I had my friend cooking some meals up on Monday for me.
Wow.
I've got the guy coming, they're doing the pool right now, working, cleaning the pool.
Yeah.
I've got my bookkeeper, my accountant. I don't do any of the things. I only do what I know I only can do.
Yeah.
And a big part of it is outsourcing to other people. And I even wrote a little article on that today for our
Right.
forum.
Interesting.
So about how
That's
important
great.
that was. So,
Yeah, well, it's a Canadian entrepreneurial coach named Dan Sullivan, very famous, and he talks about unique ability, and just you work out what you're good at, and then you delegate the rest of it out, or you delegate it, you pay people, and then so therefore you can be happy doing what you do well, and the multitasking can really lead us. We're given you buy Microsoft Office, and that's got Word, PowerPoint, Excel, it's got all these other things. Oh man, I can do everything now. I don't need anyone. But that can really lead us up to into a place where we spread ourselves thinly. We kind of dilute our power, and we try and do everything but achieve little.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I notice the people that understand outsourcing intimately, they go much better in all areas of life, and
Right.
they're free and clear to be their true, authentic selves.
Yeah.
So they have better relationships. It's not just something I say for fun. I notice these things, and you can't deny the results. The results are there. That the people who are outsourcing, that are clearer where they're going, what they're doing, and stay on the path and don't do it just for a lot of people come to a lot of events and they're in it, they want what's the one thing that's going to get me to everything? And I call it the sprint versus the marathon. We're in it for the marathon. We're in it. This is a life skills that we want to learn, and to be as sharp as possible, clear as possible, focused as possible throughout life. It's not just something you can learn in 1 minute. So, and it takes time, reducing distractions and all of those things around us.
So do you think? Tell me about just briefly on that point. It's very relevant because the Manship Project we're reaching out to men, and really, I've met guys who are 35, and man, they are checked out. They are on they're kind of on the downward slide in their brain, and it's almost like their life is shutting down from that point of view. Things have happened, they've responded to it, they've shut down in the belief in their own capacity and ability to live their most perfect life they can. And then I've met 70 or 75-year-old men who are, man, excuse me, I've got to get out of here, I'm going parachuting.
Exactly.
Guys who are full of life, who have got, so it's really up to us, isn't it? That's what I've decided. My life is up to me. But I'd love to know on that what you just described. Then, is there any point where you're at an age and it's like, oh, forget it, I can't possibly start working out my life's vision? Am I too late? Is that
Never too late.
silly thinking?
No, I've got clients in their 60s and 70s that are still
Who are starting
doing
this process?
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I've got one lady. She has come along to every event ever since I started working with an international author and speaker doing the events management side of things.
Yeah.
And ever since I've known, she's been coming along to every event, and she's now in. She still wants to continue on with the coaching. She's still got her business. She's looking at selling that next year, but she still wants to keep sharp and clear. She's the fittest, most active person that I know. She's always flitting here and there and doing all her things. She's very present and focused. And I've got a few of those guys, that are looking to do that because, oftentimes girls do have their family or friends around and support and that easily. I'm not saying that they don't need support. Of course we do. So.
Yeah, well, I think the reality, as I've moved around and just I love relating with people. I love striking up conversations and learning. Helps me understand myself more as I understand others. I wrote a post this last week about why is it that we judge? We so quickly judge and we make assumptions about people as though we know what could possibly be going on for them. But the reality is that we've all got a story, and we just don't know. There's a place of compassion and empathy that I think is really underrated, and we've got to get better as the human race to really be committed to understanding rather than judging and speaking before we really do can appreciate where that person's coming from, because a lot of those judgments send us in our mentality down a certain direction. And when a person receives that, they also are conditioned to think, well, that's who I am. That's the way I've been treated since I was a child. I'm continuing to attract that way of operating. And that can continue just to lock us into a certain destiny. And what we're talking about here is breaking free from that, realizing that, hey, we've got unlimited potential. We need to unlearn some stuff, and maybe a bit of stuff. That takes time. It takes energy. It takes commitment. It takes careful, in many, many cases, I believe, from my experience, it takes careful skill of someone who's committed to you, like a coach, someone who has got that patience and that developed empathy and skill to really listen and be present and to understand and be intuitive, and the skill of a coach who can be on top of that. And what you're telling me, you're not pumping up your own tires. You're telling me about your coaching clients really prospering at the moment at a time when COVID is knocking people. They're knocking, it's like at a bowling alley. It's just people just flying everywhere like 10 pins. And
that's right.
Sad, but it's
that's
real.
What I thought. It was like I had the balloon analogy. That's how I felt the rest of the world. And it's not that I'm saying anything about it. I really noticed it. It was phenomenal, the difference between those guys and, the ones and going back to the judgment, I just remember seeing a guy a few months ago down at the local shops and he had horns out of his head here, had all these piercings, the stretching in the ears, covered in tattoos and all that. And I just thought, that's his thing. And I thought, what led him to actually start that process? There was no judgment there. It was just like, what was it that actually made him make that first decision to think that was a good idea, and what have you. And, so judging people is not helpful.
No.
What's helpful is understanding and, even coming alongside them and navigating through the hards and the goods and ups and downs and ins and outs. So, and being present.
Yeah, very true.
And you can't do that alone. You need a team around you, and that's where I've been able to come through. And I know, David, you've been to a lot of courses and things like that yourself, and having that team around you makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Well, it's exciting work you're doing, Suze. I really commend you for sticking at tasks like consolidating and sort of filtering down all that knowledge and understanding and experience you've had in working with people into a document that can be used in a workbook. And I'm excited to hear about how the workshop format is going to evolve for you. And, I mentioned earlier that we're going to do man shit conferences. We're planning on doing conferences around the world. You know, we're building a community here of guys so they don't feel alone for a start. Because like you picked up before, a lot of men women, in contrast to men, women grab their friends. They have a tribe of nations and their friends to help them work through things, think things through. A lot more gregarious than what guys tend to go off to our cave with our our club, and we kind of go off and we think we're going to solve our problem. Yeah, we think guys tend to think we're going to solve our problems mentally. Yeah. And to do that, that's a much bigger task than fixing things physically. And it needs support. So that's going to be wonderful. So we're going to be running these community events all around the world and in Australia. And I'd just love you to come and share with us and run some workshops on that, the critical skills you're talking about, which is deciphering, really helping someone to get clear, getting the tools to get clear about what they're on about, and then the support they need to actually move ahead. But it all starts with why, as Simon Sinek says, and it starts with having a clarity of purpose, doesn't it? Which is what you're on about.
Absolutely. And then if we can help them discover that purpose, then that is for them and then their families and their friends and their community, and who knows where that'll end. And that's the exciting stuff for me, and being in that process. And I don't care where anyone starts. You know, they can come in with the worst story in the world. I've met people, that have done some pretty crazy things, and they have a lot of regret around that and what have you. Just leave it at the door. We're here. If I can be a part of that in any way, shape, or form, that's why we've been friends for such a long time, and understand that you just journey along with people with no judgment. It is, if they're going to turn up, we're going to turn up.
Yes. So, not much would surprise you, I'd say, with the number of people you've dealt with. You've probably heard many things that raise people's hair, but we've all got a history and we've got a past, and it's a matter of saying, okay, that's happened.
Yeah.
Some of it I want to retain. It's been great. Some of it I want to discard, and let's just move on. And it's a great work you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, it's been an honour, and I feel like I was chosen for this. It kind of chose me rather than me searching out and seeking it out. And now I'm just going with I'm not like I said before, I'm not really out there kind of person, but I feel like that's the direction I'm headed. And I have to go with it, because to not do that, I feel like I wouldn't be living my true authentic self. True. And putting myself out there and being here and what have you, and just saying yes, keep going until I get a no. Yes. And I haven't got a no yet for this coaching. How did this even program come about that I've devised and come up with and decoded? Yeah. It just came from a few doodles that I did on a notepad to something that was quite substantial. A few months later, I went, far out, I think I've got a program here. And I didn't sit down to write a program. It just fell out of me. So that's the flow. And I want people to get into flow. Yeah. So because we all have that.
We'll put your contact details in the show notes for contact, because you do have some capacity for one-on-one coaching.
Absolutely. So I one thing I'm big on is not overloading myself, and I like to create the space for the right people to come into that space. And whether it's through I've never advertised my coaching. It's been when people discover what I do, and they get to know what's happening, and we have a few discussions, and it's of course, anyone who wants to have a chat, complimentary to start off with, and then we'll go from there.
Yes.
So,
do you feel that you've going to extend out your coaching by training others in these methodologies?
I think so. I think there's a place for that. There's a place to do workshops, and I want to start some mastermind. I've already got some mastermind groups going, and I'd really like to have facilitators to do more of that and what have you. So there's always a place for that. At this point in time, it's early days, so I haven't developed something on that. But there's definitely, like I said, with that workbook now, there's definitely people can take people through processes that I just sort of came to me after just reading and going and seeing other people and all that sort of thing. So so
that's wonderful. So
and now,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say I've also got some friends in my life now who have some formal qualification in writing that sort of program up.
Okay.
So I
Right.
can go and
Give him some
tell
more
them
support.
the guts of it all, and they can help me put it into the right format
That's
for
wonderful.
the best case of learning. So,
Oh, tremendous.
yeah.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
the contact details will be in the show notes. As a final word, Sue, what does manship mean to you?
Oh, it's so I nearly cried before because it's so important. It means that you guys are just anybody out there who needs anybody in their life to come through. I know that David is so authentic and genuine and genuinely wants to help people. That guys in particular, are the leaders of the family and their communities. And once we've got strong men doing and allowing their, I don't know if allowing is the right word, but there for their wives and their partners and all those sort of people, they've got somewhere to go to be who they genuinely authentic are, will step into their own selves and be able to move forward in their communities. So, and within their families and themselves. And to be a part of that is just an honour.
Mm. Well, Suze, it's an honour speaking to you, and we've had a great friendship for many years now, and it's just been tremendous. You've been a great supporter of mine and always encouraging me. And thank you for what you're doing, because it's very valuable. Keep going. Envision how you can make that bigger and more effective, because you've got that capacity within you, and it's tremendous what you're doing. We can't wait to have you running some workshops in the Manship conferences.
Oh, definitely. Well, I'm so excited, David. You've got some awesome materials, and listening to the other speakers that you've had on, far out, big shoes to fill there. So yeah, all the best. And
Okay, thank you.
thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Tremendous talking to you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sue. Bye now.
Bye.